Hi everyone, welcome to SonoSim. I'm going to give you a little bit of background into SonoSim and what we're all about, and then going to dive into the technology, and I'm going to do my very best to help you make the most of it. So a little bit about us at SonoSim. We are dedicated to improving medical care by serving as a global leader in ultrasound education and training. So we really have a wide footprint, and there's a lot of people utilizing this technology. So we really wanted to create a product that enabled a well-rounded learning experience. It's really about making sure that you have the opportunity to learn on your own at your own pace, that you have the opportunity for a lot of scanning whenever you have the opportunity to scan, that it's available to you, and standardizing the pathology exposure. Our product has three key components that you'll be utilizing. The first is our online courses. We have over 65 of them now, so there's a wide array of topics. And the great thing about these courses is that they are self-guided. You can move at your own pace. You'll go through the lectures, you'll take a mastery exam, and then when you pass, you'll move into the Sono Simulator, and that's where you're going to start doing some scanning, be looking at those real patient data, those real images, and learning how to find the right window and expand your image acquisition and interpretation skills. The performance tracker component is more to help you manage your progress as a learner, so you can see what courses you completed, your test scores, if you've saved images while you're working in the Sono Simulator, any instructor feedback you might get on those images, all of the above. So we'll show you in depth on what these look like, but did want to give you an overview of what you're investing in today. Now I will take you through a little bit more in depth into the product itself. Two ways for you to access the SonoSim courses. You can go directly through our SonoSim program, or you're able to simply go to sonosim.com and put in your credentials right there. Here, we'll just go ahead, jump in here. SonoSim has over 65 courses available, and we break them down into 4 different categories. We have anatomy and physiology, which is clean scans, no pathology, foundational knowledge. We have our core clinical content, which introduces pathology and starts to build on that foundational knowledge. We have our advanced clinical content for robust OBGYN and cardiac cases. And we also have our ultrasound guided procedures. For all intents and purposes, let's jump into the bladder and just take a quick look. So students will be able to guide themselves through these courses, and most of them will take 45 minutes to an hour depending on their pace. Some of them can take a little longer depending on the content. They'll move through all of these sections, and they'll see all kinds of illustrations, charts, videos. They'll have an online lecturer that will move through each slide with them and narrate as they move along. They'll have access to the script as well. There are also built-in quiz questions along the way. They'll move through all of these sections in order to take the mastery test. This is important because as an administrator, you'll be able to track their scores via performance tracker. Most tests are 20 questions, and 75% or higher is considered passing. The students can take the test multiple times, and the highest score will always populate. Once the students complete the mastery test, they'll move into the Sono Simulator and take a look at the corresponding scanning cases. All right, so as you can see, any movement of the probe right now is because of me personally at my own computer. So I can rock, fan, and rotate the probe. From here, they'll have a set of tools to help them really work on those image acquisition and interpretation skills. You can see the case history will pop up for them. And we're just calibrating the probe here. So when the probe is green, the students will know that they're in the right window. And then as they rock, fan, and rotate, the simulator will move with them. It's pretty precise. They'll have access to the corresponding cases, as we mentioned. Since we were just in bladder, we'll just take a quick look. And all of our real patient data in this particular case included, sometimes it will include MRI and CAT scan, so that's what you're seeing here. And for this purpose, we'll just take that away for a second. So the students will be able to use all of these tools available. They'll be able to change the position of the virtual mannequin, recall the case history. They'll be able to remove layers so they can see how the beam cuts through the body. They'll have the probe guide, which will help them as they try to figure out the best way to scan. And they'll see whenever it lights up green that means that they are in the right window. They can also lock the probe and help a classmate. And they do have access to the findings videos, which is another version of our online instructor.
We're imaging the urinary bladder with ultrasound in a normal 24-year-old
and they'll essentially just get a lecture right here as they're scanning. Some of these will be 30 seconds, some of them will be 8 or 9 minutes, depending on the content. We also have test mode, which takes away the findings videos, the probe guide, and the layer removal. So the student really has to have the skills in order to be able to scan correctly. Compression and the needle are for the ultrasound guided procedures. Here's the calibration button, access to the SonoSim user guide, and this will take them back to the main menu. The important thing here is to keep in mind they'll be able to adjust the depth in the gain, Doppler if applicable, and perhaps the most important part is freezing and saving images. So they'll be able to freeze, make a note, normal anatomy. When they save it, it will go to their particular performance tracker, and then you as an instructor will be able to evaluate and administer feedback. And let me show you what that might look like. So now we're going to jump into the performance tracker, and I'll show you how to get back there. You just go home here, and we're back at our course library. So if we click in the right top-hand corner, we can either go back to the main dashboard or just jump right into performance tracker. Now, Performance Tracker is going to ask you which group you would like to load. Perhaps you have access to an entire class of learners and or a summer elective, for example. You'll be able to choose whose data you would like to load. I only have access to one group right now, so that's what it's loading for me. The Performance Tracker is broken up into 3 areas. We have student performance, so that's tracking, leaving feedback. We have our curriculum integration tools, and we also have kind of the admin side of things, managing the students, who's active, who's archived, that kind of thing. So just to jump in here, in radial view, you'll be able to get a 30,000-foot view, kind of high-level understanding of how your students are doing overall. So you can see their overall progress, as well as progress by module. So you can see the percentage of the class that has completed that particular module. If we jump into our table view, which is just right here on the radial page, or back on the main menu, depending on how you would like to navigate, you'll be able to see a much more granular view of how the students are doing. So here we can see the modules, the names of the students, their scores, it's the courses in progress. So if we scroll down here, and we take a look at our friend Mark, we can see he has taken quite a few of these and doing pretty well. So if we look at his bladder module, just to keep things consistent, we can see that he scored a 95%, and he does indeed have images saved. So we can take a closer look by clicking on this, and it will take us to his specific page for the bladder core clinical module. So 95%, we can see when he started and completed it, and we can see if he saved any images. So it really gives you a closer look into how the students are doing individually in the table view. Now we're at Run Reports. So this is great to keep track of students per class and keep their progress for your records. So if we choose a particular class, for example, the class of 2020, it will auto-populate all the students in that class. And then you can pick a particular module. In this case, we'll keep it consistent with bladder. And we can generate 3 different kinds of reports. So a detailed report is going to include very specific student data, including their images. So when you run a detailed report, you want to make sure that you're not including a whole class, otherwise that's going to be a pretty hefty file. The summary report is a little bit more high level. It's an overview of class performance. And then the assignment report is going to be assignment progress for the whole class based on what was assigned to them module-wise. So you can generate those, download as a PDF, Excel, or CSV, and save for your records. We also have the assignment feedback part. So when the students are going into the SonoSimulator and they're scanning and saving images, this is where you'll be able to go in and give them real-time feedback. Then when the students log in on their side, they'll get a notification that says they have feedback waiting for them. and they can jump in and see what you said. In this particular case, we'll take another look at Mark. And a couple ways to go about this. So we can choose per student and choose several modules. And the images that have been saved will populate. Or you can select an entire class and pick maybe one module and evaluate an entire class's progress on that particular course. So since we're looking at Mark as an individual, we'll look at what he's done with bladder, we'll evaluate those images, and all of his will pop up with the notes that he's taken, normal, full bladder, etc. And then we can leave real-time feedback. So if I want to jump in here and say adjust the gain, then when we publish this feedback, Mark will get that notification letting him know someone has taken a look. As for the curriculum integration tools, we've added some new ones. So the curriculum mapper is pretty new. And this is really just to help faculty think about which SonoSim modules will pair well with the curriculum that's already in place at your institution. So for example, if we choose medical school and we say it's 4 years long, then we'll essentially be able to drag and drop and really just try and plan based on the available SonoSim modules. And then as we move into year 2, maybe things get a little bit more complicated and we move into some of those core clinical modules. We can add DVT, perhaps pulmonary, and start to build out the curriculum this way. This can also be downloaded as a PDF and shared with faculty members. The industry recommendation is essentially national recommendations paired with the corresponding SonoSim courses and the scanning cases. So in this case, the Society of Radiologists in Ultrasound and Alliance of Medical School Educators in Radiology came up with some learning objectives that they felt like medical school students should know by the time they graduate. So we essentially went in and mapped all of the relevant courses and scanning cases to those objectives. Also downloadable as a PDF. We do have course outlines and sample assignments available as well. That's going to give you a very straightforward look into what's included in the courses. If we take a brief look at the bladder here, we'll be able to see this is what's included. This is what you can expect your students to be exposed through as they move through the course. And the sample assignments is very similar. You'll be able to see that we've put together pre-existing assignments, if you will. Review the course, complete the test, go in and scan and save these particular images. Again, downloadable as a PDF to be shared or emailed out to students. Answer keys to all the exams live here. And in the administration portion, you'll be able to see which students are active, which are to be archived, the email addresses associated with the SonoSim logins, all that good stuff. So hopefully this gives you a better sense of everything that's included with the SonoSim Performance Tracker and the product ecosystem as a whole as it pertains to your learners. Keep in mind, if you have any questions, you can reach out to your SonoSim rep or contact our support team and they will point you in the right direction. Thank you very much and happy scanning.